And we are live, and there's probably not going to be any adverts on this because YouTube doesn't like to monetize talking about mental health, which, yeah, I'm not even getting into that. Right, anyway, I thought I would go live on the YouTube and do another mental health talks. It's been a while since I've done one of these. Bloody right. Anyway, it's been a while since I've done one of these. For those of you new to the channel, my name's Andrew, part-time eBay reseller, mental health advocate, self-proclaimed national saviour. I like a bit of comedy. I was going to say the subject of this is one that I've been avoiding tackling for a long time, but the last few weeks have shown me that I need to understand this particular area a bit more. So I figured, like I do with anything I need to understand, I use a good friend Google to do some research, and I may as well do it live on the internet. It's been a really tough couple of days for me. A few weeks actually, last 5 weeks, probably 6 weeks have been really tough for me. And I feel a lot of it is down to the disability I suffer from, which is autism. I'm a high functioning autistic, or Asperger's as it used to be known. But I was very late getting diagnosed with that. It didn't happen until I was in my 30s, which I'm still in my 30s, as you can tell by my attractive, youthful visage. So yeah, I think I was about 32 or 33 when I got diagnosed, and I've never really delved into what it means and how it impacts on me. But I'm seeing now that particularly during this lockdown, where a lot of the traditional communication routes are cut off to me, that it's really beginning to have an impact on how I interact and deal with others, and it's leading to a lot of stress at the moment, for me personally, and perhaps for others. So figured let's have a look at it. Let's understand this thing a bit more. Let's see if I can build my understanding of it, maybe build other people's understanding along the way. So where do we start? I think we start with, and feel free to put suggestions in the chat of where we think we should start, but I think we should start with looking at a definition first. What is autism? What does it mean? Although actually I should probably say hello to the people in the chat first and not ignore you. So yes, hello people in the chat. Tori was first, Chris B's here, Damien's here, Todd's here, Aid's here. I can see 12 people watching. Oh, Shannon, I'm live. There you go. I've told you I'm live. Patty's there. Hi, Patty. Hello to anyone else who hasn't had the opportunity to say hello. Yeah, right. So I figure, as usual, I've got no plan other than talking. But hey, I'd like to talk. I'm very good. The sound of my own voice is brilliant. So yeah, I'm going to have a look into starting off with what is the definition of autism and what does high functioning mean, and then we'll see what other resources are out there. Hi Shannon, sorry I forgot to message you, but I did message you because in the end, so I've done that because you're here. Right, okay, bear with me. Let's have a look. So I'm going to do the screen share. We'll read out, we'll have a look at these things, we'll see if there's any revelations, etc. We'll see what I can relate to. Other people may be able to relate to it as well. There may be people watching now who have a similar sort of experience. So full screen. I've even got it to work. First time. This is amazing. Right, let's come off the cult. By the way, folks, I need to be higher up in this vote. So go and vote on this to make me number one after this stream. Right. 60 new members to welcome as well. What is autism? There we go. So we've got the Autism Society. Are they English? I always like the English definitions. Here we go. Yeah, they are English. What is autism? According to the National Autistic Society. So autism is a lifelong developmental disability that affect. You can see pictures of people that look like ordinary people. Obviously, that is the representation here. That this is something that affects ordinary people that you may not know. Well, freaking coronavirus, sorry, go away. Autism is a lifelong developmental disability that affects how a person communicates with and relates to other people and how they experience the world around them. This section explains some of the different names for autism and related conditions, provides information about gender, discussions about causes, and current research. So, there's a film. What is autism? Let's watch this film. Here we go. Autistic people see, hear, and feel the world differently to other people. I'm going to bring the chat up on my phone, so I'm not ignoring you actually. How do I bring up my own chat on my phone? Hang on, maybe I can search for myself. Stupid! I do not want to try premium. There we go. All right. Yes, I can see myself now. Oh, some more people have popped in. Hello, hello, Stephen. Hi, Nikki. Hi, Kathy. I hope you're well. Hi, Greg. Romany G. Right, yeah. So, autistic people see, hear, and feel the world differently to other people. If you are autistic, you're autistic for the life. Autism is not an illness or disease and cannot be cured, which is really bloody annoying for me because I would love to be free of it. Often people feel a bit autistic as a fundamental aspect of their identity. I can definitely relate to that because I do feel that it is for me. Autism is a spectrum condition. Don't know really what that means. All autistic people share certain difficulties. Let's explain what it means. All autistic people. I didn't know you're autistic, Kathy. There we go. We've got something else in common apart from both being very sexy people. All autistic people share certain difficulties, but being autistic will affect them in different ways. Hi, Leah. Some autistic people also have learning difficulties, mental health issues, which, well, we know that I suffer with the anxiety and the depression or conditions, meaning people need different levels of support, and we do need support as well. I think that's important to note that we can't well, how do I say it? We cannot function perhaps as well as others can. All people on the autism spectrum learn and development, and with the right same as support can help to live a more fulfilling life of their own choosing. How common is autism? It is much more common than people think. There's around 700,000 autistic people in the UK, so more than 1 in 100 people, affecting people of all nationalities, cultural, religious, and social backgrounds. But it does appear to affect more men than women. How do autistic people see the world? Some autistic people say the world feels overwhelming and this can cause them considerable anxiety. So, yeah, that is very true. In particular, understanding relating to other people, which is where I really am struggling at the moment. And taking part in everyday family, work, school, work, and social life can be harder. I take definitely, definitely is. Well, in my experience, it feels like it is. Other people appear to know intuitively how to communicate and interact with each other, yet can also struggle to build rapport with autistic people. Autistic people may wonder why they are different and feel their social differences mean people don't understand them. I have that feeling quite a lot. And yeah, there's definitely, I agree, Kathy. I think there's more than people realise because, like you're saying, I was in my 30s before I was diagnosed. I may not ever have been diagnosed if I'd not become mentally ill. Autistic people often do not look disabled. Some parents of autistic children say other people think their child is simply naughty, while others adults find that they are misunderstood. I suffer with that a lot. Hi, Jason. You get a diagnosis, etc. Yeah, add that. Does it mean persistent difficulties with social communication and social interaction? So autistic people have difficulties interpreting both verbal and non-verbal language. Sorry to hear that, Greg. I suffer this in the same way with the depression and anxiety. It's horrendous illness, really. But you know, talking about it definitely, I find for me helps. And expressing that. Um, yeah, so interpreting verbal and non-verbal language like gestures or tone of voice. Many have a very literal understanding of language and think people always mean exactly what they say. I really struggle with that. When people say something to me, I will take it as, what they say is what they mean, you know. I don't necessarily always understand that they're joking, or this heat of the moment thing that people talk about, where they'll say something and they regret it and it's not really what they mean. you know Somebody says something to me in the heat of the moment, I will take that literally, and it becomes very difficult for me to process that they didn't actually mean that. um yeah. Don't worry, Kathy, when I say you're sexy, I mean it's not just the heat of the moment. Made it find it difficult to use or understand facial expressions, tone of voice, jokes and sarcasm. I do understand sarcasm. I employ it a lot, but I don't always correctly identify it. Some may not speak or have fairly limited speech. They will often understand more of what other people say to them than they're able to understand, yet may struggle with vagueness or abstract concepts. I definitely struggle with that. Some autistic people benefit from using or prefer to use alternative means of communication, such as sign language or visual symbols, and some are able to communicate very effectively without speech. Others have good language skills, like me. I'm fucking brilliant in English, but they may still find it hard to understand the expectations of others in communications. Perhaps repeat what the other person has just said. I do this a lot, which is called echolalia. Can't even say that. Or talking at length about their own interests. I used to do this all the time. It took me a very long time to learn not to do, and this was before I was autistic. It took me a long time to learn not to do that. That it can be annoying for people. Fortunately, I now have YouTube, so I can use YouTube to do it anyway. So you'll have to suffer from me talking about that. But we share a lot of similar interests, so it's good. It often helps to speak in a clear and consistent way, and to give autistic people time to process what has been said to them. Consistency, I find, is absolutely vital with me. When people change who or how they are towards me, I cannot process it. People will go from, say wanting to talk to you every day or whatever, to hardly talking to you at all. And that can very well be because they've got things going on for themselves, that mean they just can't talk to or deal with anyone. But I'm not going to be able to understand that necessarily. So when that happens to me, it feels like I've done something terribly wrong, and it will send me into autistic meltdown. I can't help that. It's just, how I process things. I wish it was different. Autistic people often have difficulty reading other people, very much so. I assume every lady fancies me. You quite often can be right. Recognizing or understanding other people's feelings and intentions, struggle with that all the time, and expressing their own emotions. That is really hard. And that's actually the bit that people struggle with me, because I talk very openly and honestly about what I'm thinking and feeling. People think therefore I'm very good at expressing my own emotions, but actually there are a lot of things that I don't know how to express because I've never expressed it before. The reason I can talk about mental health, etc., so openly is because I've had a lot of therapy where I've had to talk about it. So I've learned how to talk about it through that. If I haven't learned or understood or have experience of how to do something, I can't do it. I don't have, because I work from, in my head, I think, right, I'm in a situation. How have I dealt with or experienced this before? And I pull that file from my computer, mind sort of thing, bring it up and go, right, oh, you did this, this, and this last time. So if you do that again, hopefully that should work. And quite a lot of the time it does. But if I haven't had that experience, it goes, oh, no file, no nothing there, computer read error, meltdown, don't know what to do, bang, horrible, horrendous, massive anxiety. Um, so yeah, that I know is what happens with me. Um, so yeah, it can make it very hard for people to navigate the world. They appear to be insensitive, and that brings me back to my point before as well. Actually, I am brilliant at appearing empathic and understanding others, but only if I've been through that experience myself. If I have, I will completely relate. I'll be the best person to speak to about it because I've I've gone through that and I understand how it feels. If I haven't, if it's a new situation to me, like somebody going through a divorce, for example, or um, somebody giving birth to a child, maybe, or something like that, something that I haven't done, or getting married, those kind of things, because I've never done them. It's difficult for me to understand the stress and the anxieties and whatever involved in those things, other than a high conceptual level. So I can say things that appear insensitive as a result. It's not that I'm insensitive to it, it's just that I literally don't understand what's going through, so it doesn't have, to me, it wouldn't necessarily appear to be a big thing, but I understand that it is. Craig says, when I lost my health due to Crohn's and, sorry, I can't pronounce that. Is it colitis disease? Started with me. Surgery just pushed me over the edge with depression. I can imagine you were probably feeling, a bit like you couldn't do things for yourself anymore that you could have done before. I don't know, but that may have been how it felt, and a sense of frustration as a result. And in men, anger and frustration can lead to or manifest as depression as well. That's how it manifests for me. If I'm getting really angry and I'm really irritable and whatever, it's actually usually because I'm feeling depressed. Um, so yeah. They may seek out time alone when overloaded by other people. I do that. If I disappear, people joke about it. Like, I'll say I'm taking a break from the socials or whatever. Um, the reason for that is because I'm literally feeling overloaded. And so, yeah, I might be back in a few hours because I'm no longer feeling overloaded, or I might be back in a couple of days because it's taking a bit longer. But if I'm saying I'm disappearing for a bit, that is literally because I am feeling overloaded by other people. Um, and I have that where I just want to disappear or run away, quite often. And not seeking comfort from other people. I get told off all the time about this for like, you know, people say, like, I'm here to talk, you just got to talk to me. But it's like, it's not always what I want to do. Other times, it's completely what I want to do. And it's going to be impossible to know what I want. Yeah, definitely learn how to deal with things all the time. And here we go. Appear to behave strangely or in a way thought to be socially inappropriate. Right. Every single person here. Hi, Dwayne. It must be a struggle for your son as well. I'm sure by going through the same thing, and difficult for a parent as well. Um, every single person here will say, I am socially inappropriate, but every single person accepts that about me as well, which I'm very grateful for. But yeah, so I definitely behave strangely or in a way that is socially inappropriate. I have no concept of boundaries or personal boundaries. They do not interest me, to be honest, either. Again, being insensitive, I'm just, they're just things, barriers that get in the way to me. They really are. That's just how I think about it. What other people are just difficult? Some people are just difficult to deal with. Yeah. Autistic people may find it hard to find friendships. Some may find it want to interact with other people and make friends, but may be unsure about how to go about it. I'm very lucky that I have a lot of good friends that I speak to and that I do find. Hi, Myra. That I do, make friends. But I have a lot of situations where I form friendships with people or whatever, and then I do something that they can't understand or interpret. and then as a result they decide they no longer want to be friends with me, and that is horrible. And it's not something I can control or do anything about, but it just sends me into a huge spiral. So yeah, definitely. And then there's restricted and repetitive patterns of behaviours, activities, or interests. I have this repetitive behaviour and routines. The world can seem to be a very unpredictable, confusing place to autistic people. They often prefer to have a daily routine so they know what is going to happen every day. They may want to always travel the same way or eat exactly the same food for breakfast. You will notice if you watch Cooking with Andrew, I have not a restricted diet, but I have quite a few go-to meals. You won't necessarily see a huge variety in what I'm eating, and that is because it's part of my routine to eat those foods. That's what I feel comfortable with. I'm a pacer as well, Dwayne. I can walk miles. I'm a lot better with it than I used to be because I've learned to control it. But in my 20s, when I was in work, we used to have meetings. I would pace up and down the length of the meeting room all the time. It used to really piss off my colleagues that I did that. I would just backwards and forwards all the time. Whenever I'm in a meeting, because it was an overwhelming situation for me because I'm in a room with a large number of people. I'm a focal point of attention for there. I've got, so it is an anxious space to be in. But I've learned to, as I've sort of gotten older and gotten more experience, I've learned not to do that now. Still do it occasionally if I am distressed. It's very easy to tell if I'm distressed by something because I'll be pacing a lot. I used to think it was my anxiety, but it can be part of the autism as well. Do I toe walk? I don't toe walk now because I'd be paranoid about breaking my toes. So yeah, like I have a daily routine. There's certain things I do. If you message me late at night, there's a good chance that I am browsing certain things on the internet, for example, because that's the time when I do it at. In the morning, I have to have my Cocoa Pops. I used to have coffee in the morning. If I didn't get my coffee, it would be a bad day for me. But I've learned that coffee gives me, I think I've actually got an intolerance to it because it actually has a bad impact on me. So I've managed to switch to tea now, which doesn't have the same issue for me. But yeah, the use of rules can also be very important. I need, right, I do not, when I'm in conversation with people and like people say something like, I can't talk about this right now because it's too deep for me or this isn't the right time or whatever. I don't understand that because, I need to understand then when is the right time. Is it, because to me it's like, is it a time of day thing or whatever? I don't know. I struggle with that. But when I try and ask people, okay, well, what are the rules there so I know, so I can follow them, they don't understand what I mean by that, and so it can get very difficult. And they just like either won't respond or they'll just think that I'm, being weird or whatever. But literally, it's like I need to understand what the parameters, the rules of this conversation are, because otherwise, I'm just gonna walk up what feels like walking on a landmine. I know a few people who can't have their food touch each other. That's a common thing. That cafe. I know people who do that. It's more common than you might think. People on the autism spectrum may not be comfortable with the idea of change. I struggle with things when they change, especially if they change quickly and I get no warning of it. Jesus Christ. Aldi, well, as you know, the world's greatest supermarket. I keep using this example because this is the best one for me. Aldi did a refurb on a store that was a year old. We don't even know why they did a refurb on it, and moved the locations of stuff that I normally buy And when I went in there, I was just like, to go to where the pasta used to be. There was no pasta there. It was like chocolates or something, which I don't buy. I could not cope at all. I had a panic attack. I had to leave the store and go to Morrison's where I knew where the pasta was, which is next door. And I had to build myself back up to going into Morrison's to go back into Aldi to get used to how it was. And I think that was before I'd been diagnosed as autistic. So I assumed at the time wrongly that it was as a result of my anxiety. Actually, it was the fact that I just couldn't cope with the change. So yeah, and people are the worst for this because they freaking change. People change their mind or their feelings and stuff all the time. And like, I don't. If I like someone, I like them. That's it. You know, my opinion of people doesn't really change. You know, but other people's opinions seems to change all the time and whatever. Oh, it's horrible. And especially if I'm on the receiving end of that, it is like, it's like being trapped in a whirlpool, I guess. It's awful. Yeah, coffee. Couldn't find the coffee enough around. It used to be horrible, horrible. Couldn't cope with it. I had to go to a store where I knew where stuff was. If I didn't have that, I don't know how I would have coped. I just don't know. And yeah, I agree. I agree over in the diet's an issue because I do sometimes get bored of the food, but I don't want to try something new. I think my hatred of onions is also partly linked to that as well. But anyway, highly focused interests, definitely. Very, very obsessive. Um, Many autistic people have intense and highly focused interests, often from a fairly young age. This was always me. This can often change over time or be lifelong. Anything from arts or music to trains or computers. If you can think of an interest, I will have had it at some point, and I will be highly focused on it, and it will have taken over my life for about 6 months, and then it will have gone, and I won't be that interested in it anymore. Or sometimes it might come back for a few weeks and then it's gone again. eBay is literally the only thing that has remained consistent for me for longer than a year or so. Everything else is done, and I do the same with women as well. I fix it. If there's a lady I like, I will become intensely interested in her to an extent where it will. And I literally didn't realize this until I spoke to my therapist last week, that I didn't realize that was a symptom of my autism, that I'll become intensely interested in her and she'll become like the whole focus of me for a bit, until basically I freak her out, because who doesn't get freaked out of being, the sole target of an obsession like that? Everyone does. I've been on the receiving end of it myself, and I know how awful it is and how it feels, and I can't stop it. It's just, which is why I'm now like at the point where I'm like, actually, maybe a relationship shouldn't be the thing that you should be aiming for, my friend, because it's just going to be really, really perhaps too difficult to for me to do because of that obsessiveness that happens, you know. And so casual encounters and whatever might be actually all that I could cope with without getting too stressed and stuck in to things and whatever, because it's not pleasant for the person on the receiving end of that either. And I am much better with that than I used to be, but it is still a huge issue for me that I may have to accept is just how it is. And I wish it wasn't, because it literally makes me cry sometimes. It really does. And I don't know how to. I'm scared of talking about that with people as well. So yeah, OCD. I don't know how much OCD. I don't know a lot about OCD, to be honest. About 39. Everything started making sense once it was diagnosed. Yeah, it's taken a bit longer for things to make sense to me. But part of that is because when I was first diagnosed, I was very much at the right, okay, well, I'm not going to let this change me or anything. I'm just going to carry on as I am. And actually, I don't think that was the right approach. I know it's not the right approach, but this thing it terrifies me. I hate having this. I hate feeling and being disabled. So I have struggled and still do struggle to accept it. But I know if I don't, it'll either kill me because I'll end up feeling so bad because of it that I'll do something stupid, or or that is, I will end up going into a spiral. So I am slowly letting it in, and this is part of that process. Really, I'm starting to let it in and to understand it. So yeah, many channel their interest into studying, paid work, volunteering, other meaningful occupation. Yeah, and that's what I do. I'm focusing some of that energy into me eBay to just try and take things away. But I struggle with sleep sometimes, and I can't do eBay when I'm struggling for sleep because I make mistakes that will have then a detrimental impact. So I have to balance it. Yeah. I'm not claiming to understand autism more, but understand depression and anxiety very well. It's crippling. Yeah, it definitely is, Greg. It definitely is. I don't think it should necessarily be an aim to understand something, but maybe an aim to accept it instead. Yeah. Difficult process, as you say, Stephen. Then talk about sensory sensitivity. I have this a little bit. There are certain things that will go right through me, and I don't know why this didn't get picked up when I was a kid, really, because there was so much stuff in school that because of the sensory impact it had on me, that I couldn't do. But it wasn't ever explored as to whether or not it was because of autism or whatever, even though there were, it was a recognized condition at the time. I couldn't use coloring crayons, for example. I still can't. There's certain things like I really struggle with Sharpies. I can just about use a Sharpie. The cheaper things, cheaper versions, I can't. It just kills me. Pencils, can't use them. Pens, fine with. But those other things, just from a sensory perspective, absolutely destroy me. A bit like somebody running their fingers down a chalkboard would be how I would compare it. It wasn't as recognised, yeah, but even so, I just look back and it's just so obvious that, anyway. So what causes autism? Basically, nobody knows. There's no cure, but how can you help? You can help autistic people and their families by spreading understanding about autism. And that's what I want. I want this understanding to spread. I need it to spread for me, and I need it to spread for the people I interact with, so that they understand that if I'm doing something, if I'm saying something that appears blunt or direct or rude, that's not the intention that is behind it. It's usually that I feel there may be an issue here. I want to very quickly get that issue resolved for both of our benefits, so that we can move forward, because it's going to cause me anxiety and stress otherwise. Let's see what else we can find out about it, shall we? Yeah. I would rather know I had it. I worry less about acceptance. I worry more about accepting things myself than I do about others accepting it, I guess. So yeah. I was in school in 1994, Myra. I'm young man, me. I don't know what the DSM-V is though. But yeah, it was. We had kids in my school who were diagnosed autistics. Right, and I had a very expensive education as well, so I was literally paying for them to not spot it. So yeah, I feel quite, passionately on that one. What should we have a look at now? Not what is autism. We've done that. How does autism affect someone socially? I think we'll look at, because the bit that causes me anxiety around my autism, well, like my brain is a computer. That's why I have great recall about stuff. I can answer stuff really easily and whatever. I can talk about difficult concepts very easily because I have a computer brain. That's what I think of it as. With a great filing system, where I can easily recall things and whatever. But computers don't interact with people well. Think about how many times you've wanted to smash your computer or got frustrated with it because it's not doing what you want. And the problem is actually that the computer can only be the computer, it can only act in the way it is programmed to do so. The problem is that the person using it doesn't understand how to get the result out of it at once. And I think that's what happens with me when people interact with me. There might be something they want or need, but I don't know what that is, and I don't know how to give that to them. So then they get frustrated with me as a result, because somebody who didn't have autism may instinctively be able to pick up on what that is. So there's one here. Why do autistic people have issues with social skills? Let's have a look at this. One of the core aspects of autism spectrum disorder is social dysfunction. Oh yeah, child psychologist in the 60s. Christ, I'd forgotten you're ancient, Chris. I'm only teasing. American site. Okay. Yeah, no, I've not come across that one either. One of the core aspects of ASD is social dysfunction. This can manifest in a range of behaviours, from completely avoiding any sort of personal interaction at all to completely monopolising conversations on a single subject that nobody other than the person speaking seems to be very interested in. I used to go to some meetings for dyspraxics, because I think dyspraxia is something I may have as well. But the dyspraxia doesn't really impact on my life to any sort of huge degree, so I decided I didn't really need to pursue that any further. But there were people there who have autism, and once they started talking about their interests, that was it. That was nothing else. You couldn't stop them. It was like a train going. And that's how my brain works. Like, if my head is obsessing about a subject, it will carry on until that train crashes, which it usually does. Hence meltdown. So yeah, there's no fixed pattern to social dysfunction, but it's almost always one of the major identifiers of ASD, and the one that stands out the most when interacting with people on the spectrum. For high functioning autistic individuals, such as myself and some of the people in the chat, these social deficits can be so minor, which is why it's difficult to diagnose, as to be almost entirely unnoticeable in casual conversation. People with high functioning autism commonly adapt coping methods, or have the ability to acquire social skills to fit in better. And this is often what I call camouflaging, where I will, so for example, in my pub, a lot of the people like and talk about sports. So I learned about football and stuff like that, so I could have conversations with them. So even though it wasn't something that particularly interested me, I felt that to fit in, I needed to understand it and develop some interest in it, so I could keep up with the conversation and camouflage in it. So I would then be able to understand what the difference between Manchester United is. You're masking, yeah, you're Arsenal. I call it camouflaging. I understand others call it masking. Then often able with proper training, which often includes components of applied behaviour analysis to make significant progress in social interactions. But nevertheless, at some level, they always struggle with discomfort or an ineptitude in social situations, which I do. So it can be delays, difficulties in acquiring verbal communication skills, inability to read non-verbal communication cues, repetitive and obsessive behaviours. Yeah, we talked about that. Is there anything here that's useful? I'm not finding anything useful there. What's this? Social skills and autism. Maybe this will help. Many children and adults on the autism spectrum, just conscious of the time as well, just keep an eye on the time, so obviously here's going live soon. Many children and adults on the autism spectrum need help in learning how to act in different types of social situations. They have the desire, which I hugely have, to interact with others, but may not know how to engage with friends or be overwhelmed by the idea of new experiences. I have often talked before about how I don't want any new friends because they just hurt me. And when I'm saying that, I'm not actually meaning I don't want any new friends. What I'm meaning is that it's overwhelming for me to learn new people because I have to invest a huge amount of time and effort and brain power into learning somebody so that I know how to interact with them. You know, I do. I have to. I have to invest into doing that. So somebody new coming into my life is a big thing for me that requires lots of time and effort. And I don't think people would necessarily understand. Hi, Lainey, by the way. Sorry, hi, Lainey. Hi, Michelle. I don't think people would necessarily understand the colossal effort that it actually involves to do that. Often have desire. Building up social skills with practice can help enhance participation, and that's what I do. But again, hi Tim, hi Glock. I said hello Tim, didn't I? It can be really difficult because when you're overwhelmed, it's like a what's the word I'm looking for? Not contrast, but it's like polar opposites maybe. Definitely worry about what I say to new people and how much to open up because they might hurt you out of not deliberate action, but just because they can't understand. But yeah, you've got that. I don't want to interact with others because doing so could lead to me getting hurt. But I need to interact with others because doing so will mean I get less hurt. So it's a very difficult, it's a conflict that's difficult to overcome. It takes strength and bravery to do so. Because you have to accept that you're going to feel like shit by doing it. And it's going to be horrible for you. And you have to keep putting yourself out there. So, yeah. I have always been told that I lack social skills because, what's the phrase people use? Soft skills, that's it. Not social skills, soft skills. People say I lack soft skills. It's the phrase they use. But really what they mean is social skills because, I will say what I'm thinking without a filter. The good thing with me is that because of me, because of who I am, because the type of person I am, I don't think cruel or unkind things, So when I'm saying something that might appear as that, actually I'm saying it because I really want to help that person. And the solution to whatever they're struggling with seems to be dead simple to me, So if I say stop being a dick, it's because literally if you stop your current behavior, you will not encounter the issue that you're currently facing. But nobody likes being called a dick. But what I'm saying is it's what you're doing at the minute that is causing this problem. Stop doing that and you'll be okay. And that's born from my compassion, my caring. But yeah, these rules, customs, and abilities that guide our interactions with the people and world around us, and people pick it up like they pick up language, building a map of how they interact with others. But for people with autism, we can pick up language, but the social skills are much harder for us to learn and build up. It's a learning disability, I guess. Really, that's what I'm thinking of. It is like having a learning disability. It's just that it's a social learning disability rather than one around, learning, if that makes sense. Um, so we have to guess what that social map is, and I have to guess a lot of the time. I had a conversation with somebody yesterday where they said no in answer to something, and I had to guess that they weren't saying no to me. They were actually saying no to what I was suggesting, not rejecting me, sort of thing. Um, so I guessed, and I said, I'm guessing that this is not a no to me. This is just a no to the suggestion I've made. It's like, yeah, you've guessed right. It is a no to the suggestion. We can still entirely carry on with this conversation, what we're doing. We just can't do that one thing, but we can do whatever else you want to do. And that was great. But I had to entirely guess that. If I had gone with my first guess, which is this is a no to me, I'd have ended the conversation. I'd have walked away, and that would have been it. And actually, I would have missed out on something that was really great. So, you know, that's why I'm learning to say, I'm guessing here that this is what is meant. And when I say that, that means I'm having a real autistic moment and I literally don't know what you just said to me. So, yeah. Social skills development for people involves direct or explicit instruction and teachable moments of practice in realistic settings. I need this. I need people to explain things really, really simply. And when people are talking about their emotions and how they're feeling about something, that's probably the hardest thing for them to do, because it means they've got to open up and show some vulnerability that they've probably had years of not really wanting to do. So that becomes difficult. And focus on timing and attention, support for enhancing communication and sensory integration, and learning behaviours that predict important social outcomes like friendship and happiness. So, yeah, I have to learn these skills, which is why I have a therapist to help me. And I have made progress in this, a lot of progress in it. The barrier for me at the minute is I'm literally in a position where I can't socially interact with people. I'm not allowed to because of this virus, etc. So I don't have that opportunity to practice, and so I am slipping back as a result as well, which I've got to remember and be conscious of. And again, people will look at me because I'm high functioning and say, "Oh, you've got social skills. You're a really nice person. You're very caring, very compassionate. If I've got a problem, I feel completely comfortable talking to you about it, and that you'll understand it. That is a social skill." And yes, it is, but I don't have that social skill necessarily when say when I've got feelings for somebody, etc., or whatever, or when somebody is going through, as I say, a difficult situation that I can't personally relate to, or when I'm having an issue. If I'm having an issue and I'm not happy with something, I will just come out and say it. I won't mess about. I will just say, I'm really pissed off at the minute. I'm really not liking this. You've done this. And I'm really hurt by that, or whatever, and I won't show, because I don't have the ability to, an understanding of why that person has done that. So, yeah, that's difficult, and I need to learn how I can, because if I'm happy, everything's fine. Best company in the world, it's brilliant. If I'm having issues with somebody or something or a situation, until that is resolved in my head in a way that I can understand, that will not go away for me. That will be with me for weeks or months, or I cannot move past it because I do not understand what has happened and I do not have the ability to accept it. So, yeah, Maybe I'll need to learn that. Anyway, it's 10 to 7. Zahir will be going live shortly. I think that's been an interesting exploration for me, I think. Maybe as for other people. I feel this is a subject that needs more exploration. I need to find some better websites to look at. Hi, RK. You joined just at the end. I need to learn more about this, but I've got to do it at a pace that works for me as well. So I don't know. This may be a subject that gets covered again in the future. It may not. But thank you everyone for joining and sharing with us and talking through that with me, and sharing your experiences. You know, I feel, you know, better for having done. Hello, this is me. I feel better for having done that myself. Hopefully, other people may feel better as well for that. Drinking with Andrew will be on in just over an hour and a half. If this is a subject you want to understand more, please do. And if you come across some understanding and some research that helps explain it, send it to me, please, for God's sake, because I need to really understand more about this thing myself. You know, I'm not saying that I will agree with what's sent to me or whatever, or that'll work for me, but it'd be nice to have that. So yeah, I think everyone, I'll be back at 8:30 p.m. UK time. No worries, Mr. Blobby. I shall say, it was lovely to see you on Peter's stream the other day as well. Was it Dave, I think? I really enjoyed seeing you on that. I look forward to seeing more of you. But yeah, I think 8:30 p.m. UK time, which is just over an hour and a half from now, folks. We'll be live for Drinking with Andrew. I am very tired. I've not had a lot of sleep this week, so I don't know what it's going to be like, but it'll be carnage. See you soon, folks. Thank you, Mr. Reeves, and bye, everybody. Right, I need to end stream. Bye.